Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be your host, the Irrelevant Nerd, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Boys Season 5, Episodes 1 through 3. So we finally have the final season of The Boys after almost a 2-year break, and I am just unbelievably happy to be back in this world. This was one of my most anticipated shows of the year. I think it was either number 2 or 3, and so far, it has not disappointed. I will definitely be referencing, spoilery things, so spoiler warning from here on out. And really, the first thing I want to note is the acting in this show is so good across the board. The actors have really just perfected these characters by this point. And really, the acting has been top-notch pretty much the entire show across the board. I think it gets overshadowed a lot due to, all the over-the-top element natures of the show. So I just wanted to bring attention to that first. These actors are all absolutely killing it. In particular, Anthony Starr's Homelander is just a all-world, next level villain performance. And I think the pacing of this season has been really strong for a final season of a show. I could tell about halfway through the first episode of the final season of Game of Thrones that it was going to be a terrible final season because the pace was too slow in that finale because they only had 6 episodes, and you could just tell. And this is going to be, I believe it's 8 episodes, and the pacing all seems right, and it feels like they're going to be able to get to everything in a satisfying way. And so I'm glad that I haven't had that worry with The Boys that I had with the final season of Game of Thrones yet. And just each episode has had meaningful story progression and character progression. So fingers crossed that they're able to, maintain this pace for the whole season. I have said before when I talked about The Boys that I kind of thought that 5 seasons was exactly the sweet spot for the show. You don't want to, drag it on too long. And with the pacing of the final season being what it is so far, I do feel like that was correct. And it seems like they have enough story to fill this out. So fingers crossed. I love Homelander a lot in the show in general. He's probably my favorite character, but I love how he's further progressing into madness, and you can tell that he is just about to completely mentally fracture, and that'll make him even more dangerous than he already is. And I enjoy that they've added a new dynamic to the danger he presents, just beyond being the super strong crazy guy, because that's really just who he's been the past 4 seasons. Not a lot of change, but now they've introduced V1, the original Compound B formula, and he's going to try to become immortal, which obviously pushes him into this next level threat. And so I've liked that he has been the adversary the whole show, but I like that they've added a way to kind of up the ante for the final season here. And I thought the death of A-Train was handled extremely well. I think the actual chase where Homelander is hunting him down and trying to laser him, I think it actually looks pretty good. The show seems to use their special effects budget very smartly, and I've always thought that this show did a really the super speed looks really good. There's a lot of times in live action, for whatever reason, super speed just ends up looking very weird. Probably looks the best in the Eternals, but that's a pretty short clip that you see Mercari using her super speed to mess up Icarus, but a lot of times it just ends up looking really weird. But I think this show does a really good job. But the thing that I really, really loved about, the scene with his death is ultimately the reason he stumbles and is caught by Homelander is because he wanted to avoid running through an innocent woman and killing her, which is exactly what we saw him do to Robin in the very first time we're introduced to the characters. So, like, his arc truly has come full circle, and I just thought it was really well done, and that his character was just written really well. And I just enjoyed that, like, Drew, to his character, he was just talking shit literally until he dies, and you can kind of see how much his shit talk actually bothers Homelander. He describes Homelander, he's like, I don't even know why I was afraid of you, you're nothing. And you can see it hurts Homelander. So just beautiful scene. I thought very well done. I will miss A-Train for sure, but I thought that his character arc made sense and was just done very well. They've also done a really good job with bringing Soldier Boy back, and like his dynamic with Homelander is way different than what I expected. Like, I thought they were just gonna be on the same team, be super dangerous together, but he legitimately seems to hate everything about Homelander. And since he's not quite as strong, but he's almost as strong as Homelander, and he is immortal, so he's not afraid of Homelander. So he spends most of his time just openly talking shit to his face, and it's fun to see a character finally have that kind of dynamic with Homelander. Like, we've seen it a bit out of Queen Maeve, but she also spent a lot of time in Fear, and Soldier Boy just never has. And so their dynamic has been a lot of fun. And I guess, like, the last two things I've talked about have both been in regards to Homelander. So while I'm talking about things kind of near that subject, probably a good time to bring up Ryan. He hasn't been in the show much so far, but he's had a very huge impact. Like, the first scene that we see him in, he's hiding in, I believe it's Russia, and we see him brutally kill a group of soldiers who it seems like are trying to track him down, maybe for Vought or Homelander, and he just slaughters them. And like, one guy begs for his life, and he still just slaughters this dude. And this scene is very effective and immediately shows us how much his character has changed in the year between, canonically between season 4 and season 5. It does a really good job catching you up to where he is and where his mindset currently is. But his biggest impact is with Homelander, and showing how much Homelander is truly disconnecting from everyone around him, more so than he ever has. Like, the past few seasons, he has really been trying to cultivate a family, whether it's with Ryan or with Soldier Boy or with Ryan and Soldier Boy. He is now directly, openly confrontational with Soldier Boy, and he practically beats Ryan to death in the 3rd episode of this season, because Ryan confronts him about Homelander and what happened between Homelander and his mom. And I don't know, Homelander really is truly becoming the most terrifying version of his character, I think. And he is such a big part of the reason the show works is his performance, and I don't know, I just love him so much. Love to hate him type of thing. And outside of, just an amazing villain, there are a lot of things to love with, our heroes, the boys, as well. The entire group this season has this interesting sense of tension amongst them, because they all kind of hate Butcher now, and so they all kind of have each other's back in that way. But you can tell that even outside of Butcher, collectively, there's a certain amount of, I don't know, maybe mistrust or just a disconnect in the group. Like, they all have different lines that they're willing to cross and kind of judge each other for. And it's been really interesting to see these characters kind of butting heads so much and debating about, what they should do going forward. But even with that dynamic, this group never loses its sense of being like this fucked up little family that it has been since season 1, and you never just lose what you love about the characters. And so I think it's just really, really well done, and I love seeing them try to, put their plans into place, getting the virus, testing it on Soldier Boy, and that one, I can't remember his name, but the dude from, I think it was called like Teen Kicks or whatever. And it's all just been a lot of fun, and these characters are all working together, but with that tension. I just think it works really well. And overall, I think that the plot is progressing in a way that's not only super captivating, whether or not you're looking at the boys trying to move on with this virus and plan all their moves, or Homelander losing his mind and trying to do all his move, but it also, to me, it makes sense. It all just feels like the logical progression from what we've seen before to where we should be going. I'm not saying I know what's coming, but everything that has happened, it just makes sense. And I'm going to be really excited to see where it goes, in particular in the second half of the season. There's just a lot of things that I'm very curious about. In particular, I'm very interested into what's been going on with Black Noir. He's just different. Like, he doesn't talk at all this season, which we've obviously seen before from the original Black Noir, but he talked a lot last season, this guy that they have to replace him, and it makes me wonder if the dude from last season has been replaced, maybe by Sam from Gen V, which is, maybe why we haven't seen him, or, and spoiler for the comics if you haven't read them, but it could even be a Homelander clone like they do in the comics, and that's who's replaced him as like a contingency plan against Homelander. But, I'm just very excited to find out, because there's a lot of different cool possibilities that they could do. Could end up being the same dude at all. He just seems very different. And yeah, there's just a lot of things like that in the show that I'll be excited to see the resolution for. There have been a few issues that I've had with this season. Nothing huge, but there's I guess there's probably 3 main things that kind of bother me about this season. One, I don't love how Kimiko talks. She definitely says hilarious, inappropriate stuff for sure, and I think it fits her character in a way, but even though it fits her character, something about it almost feels out of character in a way. And I'm not bothered by the fact that she talks. I assumed at some point she would. I'm just bothered by how she talks. It's just not what I expected to be. So again, not a huge gripe, but it does almost every time she talks, it just hits my ear kind of weird. Number 2, I don't like the lack of inclusion of the Gen V characters so far. I know that the showrunner, Eric Kripke, I understand that he doesn't want Gen V to feel like required homework and required watching to understand what's going on in the boys. And I appreciate that about the show, but you could still bring in these characters in a way that you don't really even need to have watched Gen V. It's just they have set up these characters to be really important to the overall like boys universe, and they've even implied that Marie might be able to take out Homelander. So I'm sure they will show up at some point. I'm just surprised they're not in it already, and I just I don't know. I find their lack of inclusion in this show to be just extremely disappointing, because I thought the second season of Gen V set them up to be in this show in really kind of meaningful ways. Third issue is really, I loved the A-Train death, but there's just not enough death yet. And I'm very sure that we are going to get that in the second half of the season, or I'm hoping for it. Not, I love these characters, and I would love, you'd love for them all to survive, but I don't think that's how this show has been set up, like, at all. I don't think these characters get a happy ending. I think there are going to be some characters that live, probably Huey and Starlight, at least, would be my guess. But, you know, they will have lost all their friends. And I don't know, maybe Kimiko and Frenchie will survive, but I have a strong sense that most of them are going to die, and I feel like that's how it should be. It's what makes sense based off how their lives have been going and like the war that they've been fighting. So the show should not have just an overall like straight happy ending. Like, I want the good guys to win for sure, but I want character finality, and I just want it to make sense. So really hoping that, I don't know, the show just kind of picks up on that here. But overall, I do think this season has been very positive. These are minor gripes, and some of them I really do think they are going to fix in the second half of the season. I just kind of wish it was present in the first half as well. I would say probably for the first 3 episodes, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10 because there have just been those few issues, but a very solid 9.5 out of 10, maybe a 9.6 out of 10 if I'm feeling super generous. But of course, these are just my thoughts. I would love to know down below what you're thinking of this season. Is it meeting your expectations, beating your expectations? Are you disappointed? Are you disappointed in the same things that I am, or do you have different things that are bothering you? I've seen some people online say that they think the show is too political and mirrors the world too much, which I could understand that bothering you, but I don't know, it just doesn't, it fits what is going on in the show, so to me it just makes sense. But I really would love to know your thoughts down below, so please leave some comments. I have some more videos that I'm working on that I'll have out for you very soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one.